Guys, it is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we have a lot to go over in a short amount of time, so I do want to remind you, you can always go over to our website, marfooglenews.com, to find a full bibliography. First off the bat, Russian official says Ukraine launches a missile strike on headquarters of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. So they are actually confirming some of the stuff from over this last week. Of course, got confirmed yesterday, and then today, Ukraine carried out a missile strike Friday on the headquarters of Russia's Black Sea Fleet. A Russian official said, and images on social media showed large plumes of smoke said to be coming from Sevastopol harbor in the annexed Crimea. The Russian-installed governor of Sevastopol, Mikhail Rozhazev, didn't offer any details, saying that only that emergency services have been dispatched to the site of the strike and that there was no information about casualties. Rozhazev warned Sevastopol residents that another attack is possible and urged them not to leave buildings and to not come to the city center. It says those who are near fleet headquarters head to the shelters if you hear the siren, he wrote. He also said that firefighters were battling a blaze at the site of the attack and that more emergency forces were being brought in, an indication that fire could be massive. You have to remember when there is successful attacks on Russia, and I mean big ones, this is something that very well, obviously, is going to escalate things. It's not like they're not at full-on war at this point, but for them to be striking into an area that has been essentially Russia since 2014 and be hitting the very, very serious targets, you have to realize that also implicates that the U.S. is helping Ukraine. NATO is helping Ukraine. This gives them even more reason to say, oh, well, we're going to go to war with NATO, or we're going to escalate this to the real enemy. They've said it a million times. Who knows if they'll follow through with it? But it's a gigantic attack, according to even their side. So this is not a very good thing to see, but we will follow it, and of course, we will update as it goes along. We're going to have call-ins tonight, so remember, this is a call-in show. We're getting it started a little bit earlier so we can guaranteed get those East Coast folks in there, and if you want to call in, the number is 224-400-MARF. We're going to be opening that up in just a second. First, we got to do our obvious declaration of simple rules and that we're not responsible for stuff, and then we'll be right back. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, and a big thank you to Jared West, and again for yesterday. Thank you for your support. Let's see. Let's get right back into this. We're going to bring in my co/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So first of all, though, so before we open up the phones, and the phones are going to be open at 224-400-MARF. The number is scrolling down below. You can call that in just 2 seconds here. Dex, what is your feedback on the attack of the Black Sea Fleet? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so this is back to back. Well, it's multiple back to backs. I mean, they were just bragging about submarines, and last night we reported about them taking and striking an airbase in Crimea. Now they're taking out the headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet in Crimea, and that's actually even being confirmed by the other side. So These are pretty significant. Now, a lot of this activity was going on, the tit for tat, because Zelensky was over here asking for support, asking for more money, asking for more equipment, and a lot of that was going on. So if Russia hits hard, Ukraine hits hard back. If and vice versa, if UKR actually makes connection and hits something of value, like the Black Sea Fleet's headquarters, you better believe there will be a major retaliation. I think the big question is, when will it become more than we've seen? When will it escalate to a greater level than just sending over a bunch of cruise missiles and more drones?
At any point, this could morph into something else because most people see this like if Russia was to take the Baltic states or to invade other countries, it would be after they completely take out UKR, right? That they would basically take the whole country. At some point, they would say, this is now Russia, and they would probably smash down statues and stand up some podium and say, we've won, and then keep going or something like that. One thing that I think about is if a major event happens between the two of them, or some sort of accident, or if we have U.S. soldiers there, some big event that they at least, it could be orchestrated. We don't know. But then they put out some huge event where something bad happens. And then all of a sudden, other countries are getting involved. Other countries have somebody get hurt, or something goes over the border. And then all of a sudden, you have a Article 5 scenario playing out. Or either way, some serious attack on Russia to where their allies end up stepping in and getting involved. We don't know what's going to happen with this, but obviously we're all watching it and kind of waiting for things to get better or to get worse, and it doesn't really look like they're going to get better. Before we go and get to the phones, remember you can always go over to marfooglenews.com and sign up for notifications. This is a live show, so when we go live, this sends you out a notification. It's very easy to do. Just go to the website. You'll see most of it actually has a corner box that says, would you like notifications? Normally, I myself turn those off. If there's a website, if I'm going to a newspaper or something, they go, send notifications. I always press no. And I bet most people do as well. If you're on our website, try to say yes, because that's literally a simple notification telling you exactly when we go live. That's the only notification, other than if we send an email out, which we don't send emails really at all. At least not now. We haven't for months and months and months. So that's a really great and useful system. And then also, what is also very, very useful is having a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. When you go over to our website, you'll find all of our sources, and you can just do it right under today's thumbnail. Look for today's thumbnail. They are getting ready. Major superpowers prepare for the worst, and F-35s taking off. Click on that, and it will bring you to today's show. All the pictures, references, any kind of picture, article, tweet, document that is going to be here is going to be listed down below. Not only that, it is updated. So again, if you check it now, there might be new stuff by the end of the show, because callers could bring in videos, articles, all sorts of stuff. Or if there's breaking news, we add it while we're live. Pretty good chance that you're not going to miss any big news while you're watching this show. So make sure of that. And of course, you guys make sure of that too. If you're in the audience, if you see some big story that's happening as we're live. So obviously we can't be looking at that stuff. So get it to us, and we will then relay it. All right, the phones are now open, so you can call at 224-400-MARF. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'd love to hear from former or active military. Tell me what you think. Tell me, is it like many of us feel? Is it escalating extremely fast? Is it slow? Do you think that things are going to calm down? Why? I would love to hear some positive views, but again, it's not looking great. And also make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/friends. All of our wonderful mods are there. Our mods help not just mod the chat, they actually direct people to the right sources, to the right links. Again, they're very, very, very helpful. So make sure to thank them in the chat. They're also awesome people that want to help and love the community. So, all right. And then the F-35 has flown from a highway for the first time. Now, this is an F-35A. Under a technicality, I think Dex said, I don't think I said A or B. Now, the difference is One can take off vertically and one has to take off on a runway. This one has to take off on a runway. It cannot do the vertical takeoff. Now, they already did that as well, but this is the first country to demonstrate the ability of a conventional takeoff and landing an F-35A Joint Strike Fighter to operate from a highway as part of an exercise in Finland. The U.S. Marine Corps has already shown its ability to use its short and vertical takeoff in landing-capable F-35Bs in this way, as the War Zone has previously reported. So, in that way, the B, obviously, they can take off. They could probably take off from a moving truck. Who knows? But as far as the conventional version, this is yet another major weapon as far as a major vehicle that has been tested, and a major jet plane, helicopters, all sorts of things that they are testing to land on highways. We have seen almost all of the countries that have done this as our allies. It's mostly been the U.S., Taiwan, it's been in Europe, and now it's in, of course, Norway. So they are testing this because this is something they would do in a horrible scenario. In fact, they would only land on a freeway if they didn't have a runway to land on. This isn't like there's something wrong with the plane and an emergency landing type thing. This is actually being specifically practiced in case all of the runways get knocked out. We have done this in the U.S. They actually did it with A-10 Warthogs. They did it with Hercules or C-130s. So this is something that is being done more and more and more. And why is that happening? Well, you should think of what that contingency is for. Now, they practice these contingencies for probable or possible events. They war game and simulate out everything. But something like this has been done too many times to just say that it's, something that's, just being overly practiced, right? They are not even practicing. This isn't something that goes on a regular basis to make sure that they're capable of it or to train pilots to do it. They're physically testing the ability to do it to make sure it can be done. Why would this be done? Well, again, if there was a first strike on either the U.S., on Norway, on Taiwan, all of these areas that are under duress and threatened by a first strike capability, that is where they would do this. If all of the bases got hit at once, or if a nuke hit all of these major airports, those are going to be the main targets. And really, when we do go to the next war, and if it's not tomorrow, it's going to be someday, there's going to be a world war, unless we evolve to a Type 1 civilization overnight, there's going to be another world war at some point. Then the first targets are going to be the electric grid of whatever country they're attacking, and or their transportation, their runways, their airliners, their airfields. So this is something that people should be paying attention to. And if you watch the show, we have covered all of this, and of course we've covered all these. And if you see all of them in combination, you start to go, okay, something might be going on here. At the same time, active and retired military folks are saying that they are extremely worried right now. The last thing I actually heard is they were more concerned about something popping off at home than rather in Europe or wherever they were stationed. So I thought that was extremely interesting. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat below. And again, call us at 2244-00-MARF. Highly encouraged if you're a first-time caller and you are active or retired military, and if you want to weigh in on this, please let us know. We have an audience full of military and active and retired, so please let us know what you think is going on here. And then India suspends visa services in Canada as diplomatic fight grows. So I will pop in on this in just 1 second here. So now I talked about this heavily over on Marfoogle News. I've talked about India for years now and how I think that they are not exactly our best ally. And I have thought over the events of the last couple of years that they are not exactly China's worst enemy either. They have been at odds with China for a very, very, very long time. And of course, why this matters is because China, them not being partners, makes it really, really hard for India to be kind of on the opposite side of us, since they are actually on the opposite side of China, and they are allies with Russia. So there's this kind of like this, triangle of love going on between the U.S., between all of these other countries, India, and then India and Russia and China. And there's been a lot of strange events that have happened over the last few years. And I consider strange, like India doing military drills with a country that they technically have as kind of their adversary, doing military drills side by side with China in the oceans with Russia. That seems more like they are, more of an ally than not. That the fact that they are now in the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and they have been for years, where they are cooperating financially with Shanghai and China. And they are now, of course, talking about all of the BRIC stuff. So it's odd to even think that they would be this close if they're that far, right? Well, there's been a lot of weird events. I said over on my news video that they backed off of their borders, which they have both claimed a part of their borders. Specifically in the Himalayas, there's an area where they both say this is China and the other says this is India. To the point where the soldiers actually got in fights and threw each other off of cliffs. Well, after that fight, some strange things happened. In fact, they backed off all of their temporary kind of bases that they had, and satellite images showed that they cleared out all of the forces on either side of the border. Now, this could have changed. There has never been an update on that, but as far as they backed off all of this stuff, and then shortly thereafter, they were drilling with China and Russia in the Navy. In the water. So it was very, very odd. And one theory that I have is, of course, we all know that they've all declared that BRICS will not work if India and China do not get along. BRICS. Literally, India and China are two of the main country in BRICS. Maybe they have come to a deal about that border dispute. Maybe in the future, they are promised to get that land. In return, they will have China's back when they take Taiwan. Who knows? I foresee this when they do go to conflict. I bet you India is actually going to back up China on it. And there's going to be this kind of flip-flop of several countries, possibly even including France, distancing them from the U.S. But you'll also see that India will be at odds with our allies. And that's exactly what you are seeing here. It says that India suspends visa services in Canada as diplomatic fight grows. India's visa processing center in Canada suspended services Thursday as a rift widened between the countries after the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said India may have been involved in the perishing of Canadian leader. It says important notice from Indian mission due to the operational reasons with effect from 21st of September, India visa services have been suspended until further notice. So they are at odds. Obviously, Canada, one of our close allies, these kind of things can actually spiral out of control. Tell me what you think. Let me know. If you follow this as closely as we do, let us know in the chat below what you think. And then the U.S. will send Ukraine ATACMS or ATACMS's long-range missiles, JB tells Zelensky. So yet another thing and another package that is going to be going to UKR. Remember, you can give us a call on this or any other subject at, again, 224400-MARF. That number is scrolling down below, and I highly encourage, if you're a fresh caller, new caller, give us a call tonight. It says Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is embraced by U.S. President JB. They were hugging, they were embracing, they were toy like a toiger in the Oval Office of the White House in Washington. And it says that U.S. Pres JB has informed Ukraine's President Vladimir that Washington will provide Kiev with ATACMS or ATACMS long-range missiles. NBC News reported on Friday, citing 3 U.S. officials and a congressional official. It said Kiev has repeatedly asked the JB administration for Army tactical missile systems to help attack and disrupt supply lines, air bases, and, of course, rail networks in the Russian-occupied territory. But the White House did not disclose any decisions on the ATACMS when Zelensky visited Washington on Thursday for talks with JB, even as it's announced a new $325 million military aid package for Kiev. It said that the White House and Pentagon declined to comment on the NBC report. The Pentagon also declined to say whether any promise of ATACMS were given to Zelensky during his meetings on Thursday at the Pentagon, saying, in regards to ATACMS, we have nothing to announce. It says Reuters had previously reported the JB administration was considering shipping ATACMS to Ukraine to fly up to 190 miles from their launch. It says ATACMS are designed for deep attack of enemy second echelon forces, a U.S. Army website says, and could be used to attack command and control centers, air defenses, and logistics sites well behind the front lines. This would be helpful because, of course, Russia has their satellite technology teamed up with their long-range artillery. And for anybody that has looked at the kind of physical matchup, it's very hard to go up against Russia in a march towards them kind of fashion because they have so much of their long-range artillery and space navigation hooked up to where they even get close, they get hit with long-range artillery. They're probably trying to take those out. From what we hear is that those are doing the most damage as they approach any kind of area that Russia holds. It says Biden publicly assured Zelensky on Thursday that strong U.S. support for this war to repel Russian invaders will be maintained despite opposition from some Republican lawmakers to sending billions more in aid. Now, when we see that, like, there's been these headlines about Republicans having problems all of a sudden with sending money, the public narrative is way different than what these Republicans are actually talking about. What I see is a bunch of talking heads that essentially these people are, they go with whatever the popular kind of opinion is, but secretly they go and make deals to further whatever is making them money, whatever the agenda is. And then they'll publicly say, like, we don't really think we like this. Does it stop any of the bills from being signed? Does it stop them from sending billions of dollars over? No. It's like they're giving the Republicans a chance to kind of get back in the popularity vote because they told them to get out of it, and now they're telling them to get back into it. As far as a lot of the politicians right now, it doesn't matter what side they are, people go, well, I go with this side because it's not like you can pick a side because they believe in your morals or values anymore, because they're all full of crap and they're all just waiting for their next, pocket stuffing. And right now, there's, of course, this notion that publicly Republican side is against sending the money. Doesn't matter. It's not going to stop anything. And I think it's just part of this whole big narrative that there is two sides. In reality, they're not going to stop this anytime soon. They're going to keep sending this stuff. And with this kind of stuff being sent, it's just going to keep going up until I honestly think that it's just going to keep going up until we are literally sending our own soldiers in. That's what I think. What do you guys think? I mean, it's gone from RPGs to, up to anti-air missiles, to Patriots, to tanks, to jets. Now they're sending, to Shadow missiles, and now Shadow cruise missiles, and now they're trying to go for more ATACMS, right? It's not going to stop. And unless there's some sort of revolution, I don't think that anything is going to change until this thing is over. This could be what if this was a 20-year war that we never even fought in and we just paid for it? It's absolutely ridiculous. Give us a call. Tell us what you think at 2244000MARF. And then exclusive satellite images show increased activity at nuclear test sites in Russia, China, and the U.S. It says that Russia, the United States, and China have all built new facilities and dug new tunnels at their nuclear test sites in recent years. Satellite images obtained exclusively by CNN. And you've noticed there's almost like no exclusive stories at all anymore. But there's always an exclusive about conflict to CNN. It's crazy to me because all of these stories that further a certain narrative are always an exclusive from CNN. You rarely see a Fox News exclusive unless it's like they're pulling on a right-wing person onto their show and exclusive interview. It's like all of the exclusives are literally going through CNN when it revolves around this door. It says, while there is no evidence to suggest that Russia, the U.S., or China is preparing for an imminent nuclear test, the images obtained and provided by a prominent analyst in military non-proliferation studies illustrate recent expansions at 3 nuclear test sites compared with just a few years ago. It said that one is operated by China in the far western region of Xinjiang, one by Russia in the Arctic Ocean archipelago, and another in the U.S. in the Nevada desert. So all 3 of the main places that these countries are testing their stuff, now all of them are buzzing. So we could say, hey, it's an exclusive from CNN. You could take it as complete fake news. You could take it with a grain of salt. I would say take it with a grain of salt, but at the same time, remember, they do cover real events, but they shape the narrative of it, and sometimes they'll even shape it before it happens. They will make sure to put the back end out so then they can go back and actually go back to their own selves and go, well, see, we told you, we warned you about this, we covered this, and later on they can go back to that. And especially if you are one to believe that they are a part of the whole thing and they're probably in the meetings with these top elite people and deciding this stuff, then yeah, it's you have to remember they shape the view of the story. Most of the time, they don't actually create the story, they're shaping it. It says the satellite images from the past 3 to 5 years show new tunnels under mountains, new roads and storage facilities, as well as increased vehicle traffic coming in and out of the sites. So just hypothetically, if we were to believe this, if this is even partially true, they are essentially saying that all 3 of these countries are loading up their nuclear test sites, their underground military bases. That's not usually a good sign. But, what level do you take it at? I don't know. It says there are really a lot of things that we're seeing that suggest that Russia, China, and the United States might resume nuclear testing. He said something none of these countries have done since underground nuclear testing was banned by the 1996 Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. China and the U.S. signed the treaty, but they haven't ratified it. It says retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Cedric Leighton, a former intelligence analyst, reviewed the images of the 3 powers' nuclear sites and came to a similar conclusion. It says it's very clear that all 3 countries, Russia, China, and the U.S., have invested a great deal of time, effort, and money in not only modernizing their nuclear arsenals, but also preparing the types of activities that would be required for a test. Why testing is important is even screwing with these things is a big deal, and they have, of course, stopped a lot of that, or at least so they say. But now what the mainstream narrative is saying, whether we believe it or take it with a grain of salt, or it's some sort of forewarning for some sort of event or Fantastic Freddy to be set up, is they are saying that all 3 are now out of these agreements and they are about to start testing nukes, which is also not a good sign when you're trying to, all of us want world peace, but it's not going to happen. What do you think? Give us a call at 224-400-MARF. Make sure to call in right now. Get your phone and grab it, 224-400-MARF. Again, that's 224-400-6273. And then make sure to press option 4 when you get to our phone tree. All right, and let me open up my screener here. We've got Jeff, a first-time caller. Jeff, why don't you pop in? And while we're waiting for Jeff, just want to remind you guys, now we have Nutrient Survival. If you guys have not checked them out before, Nutrient Survival is all freeze-dried food, but this is a whole lot of, on a whole nother level, because Nutrient Survival is essentially the freeze-dried food that they have taken love and put a ton of nutrients in. This isn't just food to survive, this is food to thrive. Who turned this on to me personally was Alaska Prepper. Again, this is a brand new affiliate, so if this is your first show you've seen this, this is because I ate their food, and their food is awesome. Now, there's pros and cons to all of the different companies. I believe that you should actually have all of them. If you're able to, I would say, dabble in all the waters. We still have actually our other companies as well, and I think that they have different pros and cons. Some of the companies are very affordable for bulk, but again, some of that may not be what you want. So a variety is a great thing to have. Nutrient Survival has just an amazing product packaged well. It's absolutely tasty. This is a really, really, really amazing freeze-dried food. I would actually eat this normal. Like if I couldn't get to the store in time or something, I would make one of these meals as a regular meal. I have. So again, they have really, really awesome stuff. Their combinations, everything else is just awesome. They have good breakfast items. Like all of the stuff that are in the packages for these are awesome. So make sure to go check it out, marfuglenews.com/NS. You'll save 15% with our code MARF, and you'll be supporting our independent channel at the same time. They have awesome, awesome deals right now, so make sure to go check it out. And thank you guys for supporting us through this. If you already have a stockpile of freeze-dried food, I'd highly recommend getting some of this in there as well. This is, again, you could also supplement. So if you have one, you could do this, do 1 4 days a week and then have the really good stuff to make sure that you have all of the nutrients that you need. So again, really, really good. marfuglenews.com/NS. My favorite part, though, is the taste. Like, taste overall, I would eat this any day. All right. And then, Dex, let's get in Jeff. Jeff, you are live on Marfoogle News.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, Jeff? So you wanted to talk about Black Phone. I don't think I've heard about this.
Well, yeah, I went to the movies actually for the first time since the big old pandemic lockdown. I don't know, probably about a year ago. And the first movie I went to see was this movie called Black Phone, which the movie is centered around child abduction and let's just say, abuse.
Heavy traffic.
I'm trying to. Yeah, I don't want to get into that.
Moving people around, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll say that. Anyway, but at the beginning of the movie, they were showing the titles, and one of the producers, or actually the producer, was a person by the name of Patty Podesta, which struck a nerve in me. I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. So I better log that in the back of my brain and check it out later. And directly after the movie, I went to the car and got onto my phone and Googled that person. And that person just happened to be the sister of a person who was involved in some of the emails that were released, during the big shabacle about, Democrat National Committee emails being released and by who and blah, 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 that whole thing.
Yeah. So are you sure that are you sure they're related? Are they actually related? I mean, that's actually quite a unique name.
Yeah, it turns out they are brother and sister.
What? I have seen this movie, Jeff. I haven't seen the movie, but I saw, when you're scrolling through the on-demand stuff, that mask has always creeped me out. And I think it's very creepy because it kind of looks like one of those the meme of the face that they put on the digital masks.
Yeah, right.
Was it
right.
Would you say that it was did it glorify it in any way, or was it kind of like was this a good movie, or what would you say about it? Did it
No,
disgust
no,
you?
no. I would say that the movie actually really sucked, in my opinion. It was bad acting. It was just it was almost as if it was a pictorial as to how things are done, or let's say a instruction manual to that effect. But it, just watching it and then seeing that in the beginning of the movie, not the end, where they usually scroll, all the producers and all the credits and that type of thing. Watch that in the beginning and watch the rest of the movie throughout, knowing what might be behind all of this, painted a whole different picture of the movie to me.
Well, that Hollywood and politics and all of it is all connected. It's not just like stuff like mocking a bird. It's like they're completely connected. It's all one system.
Yeah, most
it's all one
definitely.
system.
They are definitely pre-programming or getting people to join in the process, something to that effect.
I don't even know if it's all like pre-programming. It's they shape the narratives with this. Like, look at all of the actors that have gone against the grain, that none of them get work. You basically, especially today, you can't. You're not in Hollywood if you don't think exactly like everybody else. If you go even on one subject off, you're done.
Yeah, look at Mel Gibson. Look at Jason Bateman. Look at
Kevin Sorbo,
people like that.
There's a million names. What's his name? James Woods, right? There's so many people.
And look at this latest movie, with about the child issue that's going on around the world. Have you seen it on Redbox yet?
No.
You can't rent it.
No, I haven't seen it anywhere.
No, I've been looking because I'm in a area where I'm 40 miles away from a movie theater, and whether or not they had that there or not, I don't know. But
well, what's funny about that is I bought 4 tickets for that movie, but they all went to other people. Yeah, they went to other people though. So yeah, I'm in the same boat.
And there were so many issues with those theaters. There were air conditioning going out suddenly in the theaters that were being shown, and that type of thing. Just all sorts of havoc that was being created around that.
So Jeff,
It's crazy.
I know a friend that so they got about 13 or 14 minutes into the movie, and one of my friends said that the tape ripped. So they were watching it, and they said that the real, or this is what they were told. The lights came on, the movie stopped, and they said that the film had an issue. So they basically said, you can't watch the rest. Now, they were blaming the theaters, but some were blaming the people. I think it would be kind of nuts, especially for movie theaters now. If you have something that's completely sold out, which he said it was, why would you? I would think, especially with small business owners and smaller, theaters that are basically struggling to keep their shows packed. If you do have a movie, you would think they wouldn't care who it was, that they would get a full packed theater, that they wouldn't screw that up. But there's a lot of people that said, if you don't know what he's talking about, people said that they would go in to watch it in the theater. The theater did carry it, and maybe it's because of contracts. Maybe it's these theaters had to do it under certain contracts with certain companies or something. But because why would they even carry it in the first place if they didn't want people to see it? But the air conditioning would be blasting at 20 degrees under, whatever, so freezing they didn't want to sit there. or it would be, 110 degrees, no air conditioning. The lights would have issues, would turn on, do all these kind of stuff. The fire alarms would go off. And those they blamed on just people that didn't want the movie. They would go into the movie theater and pull it so people couldn't watch the movie, or at least those are the couple I saw. But it was like they went to such huge extents to have people not see something that's not. If people see that movie, it wasn't that. It's. I don't get why it would be a big deal even if it's pointing out true to life story, whatever else. Why is there pushback? Why again now there's accusations and all this stuff about Tim Ballard, O'Keefe and all of these other people, Russell Brand now. Right before that, you had all these people that just all of a sudden have accusations. It makes you wonder. And then of course there people sending letters to social media saying, don't let them earn any money. To me, it's coordinated.
Nuts. I mean, it's like you get the most flack when you're directly over the target.
Yep, and the thing is people fall for it a lot. Though they go, well, and when everybody is saying the same thing, even if they have a doubt, if they see it enough, they go, yeah, but it's probably, or they'll go, oh, but they have absolute proof. But guess what? Anything could be fake now. Anything could be put out as absolute proof. The thing that bothers me is that all these people that are getting canceled and all that stuff, half of the time it's just the accusation that gets them canceled. With Brand, whether he hasn't been found guilty of anything, and if he did do that, he's a horrible person, whatever else. But if he hasn't been found guilty, how are they already subtracting things, companies not putting stuff out, if he hasn't even gotten arrested or charged with anything? Like, that's the whole point of things. People say, oh, it's a private company, they can do what they want. Well, why aren't they doing it the 50,000 other people that are being accused of stuff? They don't do that. If they get a guilty charge, I could see that, and they still haven't even done that for those kind of charges. They'll leave them on all of these platforms. But now it's like that's what sets it apart from other things. If you see that, it just seems like it's all organized and attacks.
Well, there's definitely organization going on, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just wanted to say I'll give a shout out to everybody up there in the Northwest. That's where I'm from. I'm from Eugene, Vancouver, Seattle, your area, and I just wanted to say, hi, hey, if I could, shout out to Elizabeth, my best beautiful buddy, and let you go.
All right. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for calling in, and great subject. Again, you have a great day, Jeff. Call back. It's your first time call. Don't make it your last, okay?
Yeah, well, most definitely. It's very, very good experience. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. All right. And then thank you, SFDT. Thank you for yesterday. Mimi Carstel, My Dog Eats Jeans 72, C-Mac, Shiny Future for Us. We had B-Real Beast, Robert Hodges, Lola Patton, Chanel Bevaliqua, and, of course, Sharon Davis. Thank you, and thank you. All right. And let's see here. Russia's Black Sea Fleet has taken hits, but Intel says military leaders may be more worried about an airbase attack near Moscow. So they're saying, I don't know if you guys can hear that. We have had crazy helicopter activity and crazy jet activity, and I chalked it up to maybe it's summer and they're doing events or something. But there's been so many different helicopters. Don't know what the heck's going on with that. But anyways, back to the subject. Ukrainian forces have relentlessly targeted Russia's Black Sea Fleet over the last 2 weeks, which they did say and confirm that a submarine got hit in port that was being fixed, and a boat, one of their others. But a recent attack on an airbase closer to home may have Moscow's military leadership more concerned. Britain's defense ministry wrote in a Friday intelligence update that both Russia and UKR have experienced, quote, unusually intense attacks deep behind their lines. It says over the past few days, noting recent attacks on both the Black Sea Fleet in occupied Crimea and the Chuklovsky Airbase, which is located just outside of Moscow. It says the airfield hosts specialist military aircraft as well as VIP transport for Russian leaders, the UK said, making it sensitive location for Russia. Ukraine claimed earlier this week that unknown saboteurs blew up several military aircraft at Chuklovsky Ilyushin-20 special mission aircraft, a, quote, valuable asset that can undertake missions that include electronic intelligence collection, was reportedly damaged in the explosions, Britain's defense ministry said. In addition to that aircraft, the UKR main directorate of intelligence, an arm of the country's defense ministry, also known as HER, said that sabotage effort was also damaged a Mi-28 attack helicopter and an Antonov 148 passenger aircraft. Ukraine claimed that the attack caused, quote, hysteria among Moscow's military command, given the base is also said to be home to high-profile platforms like reconnaissance aircraft and Russia's so-called doomsday planes. I very rarely believe stuff like this that doesn't come from the horse's mouth. It's coming from the people that are at war with them, or it's coming from this. It's basically saying that they're scared, they're freaked out, they're in hysteria. I feel like that's all narrative building. Like they're telling us that, you know, Russia's scared, concerned, terrorized. It's war. They're trained for these things, the contingencies of the things. Both sides aren't scared of these things. And if they are, what to little effect does it have on the outcome? Like whether they are hysterical or not. Do you get what I mean? Like, I guess why is that important enough for everybody to know? Sometimes I look at mainstream articles and I'm like, why are they telling us this? And that's exactly what you have to ask. Because why are they telling us in the first place? Just to put something in the back of our head? Because what's the point of this? Think about it. What's the point of us telling? Because there's an action, just hypothetically, there's an action that is going to be orchestrated or some sort of op that's going to be orchestrated in the future that needs an MO or a modus operandi. Well, then they can go back to something like this and say, well, we told you, you know, this happened, so that's why they did this. And they made decisions out of bad decisions based on being hysterical. And they blame, but maybe, so say an op or an event happened that they're like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why would Russia do that? They could use something like this and go, well, Russia was hysterical. That's why they did it. They were panicked. They did something that they wouldn't normally do. Give us a call, 224-400-MARF. Again, there's been many attacks. If you followed our channel, many attacks over the last week, not only in UKR, deep behind enemy lines, but now in Russia. So whether this is true or not, we know that a few of them have been confirmed. But if this is going to escalate more, we don't know yet. And then China's quest for human genetic data spurs fears of a DNA arms race. I think that this is already happening. I think that there already is an arms race, and I think China is ahead. And the reason I say this is because they say that they have a profile on every American in the country. They may have profiles on people all over the world. Why is that important? Well, imagine if you had, I don't know, a whole country, a government that has labs that could actually produce something that could literally take out people based on these 3 letters. And then imagine in 2018, 2019, right before all of this stuff started with the thing that we, a lot of us debate if there was anything there in the first place. They actually pretty much verified. I believe they got caught doing genetic related weapons. Now imagine they have now advanced that to the point where they can actually get in with genetics, DNA strands, and actually be able to alter human beings, possibly even control their brains. It sounds really far-fetched. It sounds like sci-fi. But the more you look into it, you go, oh my gosh, this is real. It says the demic helped China. Is this not just odd as heck? The event from 2019 helped China scoop up DNA from countries around the world. It says most of Europe was in lockdown in April 2020 when a plane arrived in the Serbian capital bearing a well-timed gift from the People's Republic of China. Inside was a Chinese invention called the Fire Eye, a sophisticated portable lab that could detect the CV infections from tiny genetic fragments the pathogen leaves behind. It says, and that, as Serbians soon discovered, was the least of its capabilities. The Fire Eye excelled not only at cracking the genetic code for the Vs, but also for humans. With machines that can decipher genetic instructions contained within the cells of every person on Earth, according to its Chinese inventors, in late 2021, with the demic still raging, Serbian officials announced that they were working with a company to convert the lab into a permanent facility with plans to harvest and curate the entire genomes and genetics blueprints in Serbian citizens. I know there's a lot of folks that have side theories about what really happened there, and this is borderline on, out there. I do think it's crazy, though, that there was an opportunity. So if somebody could turn DNA into the greatest weapon or weapon of mass destruction, what is really crazy to me is since 2019, people were literally driving through to take swabs of their inner mouth, which, again, normal people don't really go and give DNA samples for no reasons. Others were actually sending their DNA out to get it tested for ancestry reason or to figure out if they have a high risk for cancer. And then you kind of find out about all of this data being acquired. And then not only that, with social media like TikTok, which is a monster of a system made by ByteDance with an algorithm which they said is one of the most advanced algorithms in the world. And it can collect every piece of data possible, even keystrokes on your phone and cameras and all that. Then you start looking at things a little bit differently. You start going, wow, that's really crazy. People literally drove through to get, swabbed. And if somebody had access to those tests that took weeks to come back, in some cases, do you remember in the beginning? It took weeks. It kind of, gosh, it would worry me that they might be sent off. But then you'd go, well, no, because we're here and it's not like we're allies or something with them. And who would send it off? Well, what's kind of crazy to me is there's 3-letter agencies that ran the world for, 3 years almost. And those agencies are very, very close with China. And I thought that was very odd, especially since, Australia, when the whole thing went down, Australia said, hey, can we get somebody, a third-party team that's not related to this 3-letter agency, starting with an H and ending with a ho, and have them go in to see, where this stuff came from? They did an instant tariff and a sanction on Australia. I don't know if it was a sanction, but it was a tariff. It was like them to even question. That made people think, okay, so does the W and the H and the O, are they not going to do a good job? For what reason? Are they going to turn a blind eye to something? And what kind of implications would that have? It's very weird. People aren't afraid of genetic weapons, but they will be in the future. That is my opinion. What is yours? Let me know in the comments down below or in the chat. Let's do a quick we're going to pull the chat up and let's just do a quick kind of survey here. Raise your hand with a 1, okay? Put a 1 in chat if you believe that genetics and DNA is going to be weaponized in the near future. Press 1 if you do, 2 if you don't, and 3 if you don't know. 1 if you think that DNA is going to be weaponized in the near future. 2 if you don't. Actually, let's do 3 if you think it's already has been, and 4 you don't know. 1 it is, 2 it isn't, 3 it already has, and 4 you don't know. So just for those of you watching the replay, it already has. 3 is it already has, just to remind you. 1 in the near future. Catherine. I think you, Catherine, I think you will know though soon, and that's not a good thing. It's a good thing you don't know, because it would be a good thing that none of us knew about this stuff, and we shouldn't be worried about this kind of stuff. If you learn about the company behind like the TikTok and stuff and all of this, obviously it's a separate thing. It's a separate kind of data. But when you look at the companies, and I don't even want to mention them on this platform because the literal family members of the people that run the genetic stuff run this one. Very, very freaky. What else can DNA be used for? Well, I'll tell you, it's very scary what it can be used for. In the wrong hands, in the right hands, it could be a miracle. It can be a miracle. In the wrong hands, it can be a WMD. Look at that. So just by the general kind of response there, you should at least pay attention to that space. All right, and we're going to go back over to the phones here second. Let's see here. And remember, give us a call at 224-400-MARF. It looks like we have Mark on deck. Mark, you can pop in now while we get Mark on. Quick reminder, if you guys have not seen the Energy Solar Generator, highly recommend you go look at all of their stuff, but they have 2 main generators right now that are the best on the market, in my opinion, which is the Flex 1500, which is expandable up to 96 batteries. It works like Legos. You can literally bring it anywhere or have it as a home UPS system. Again, now it can be modded. Right off the bat, it is an EPS system, an emergency power system. Now you can get the Flex UPS rapid charger, which actually turns it into an uninterrupted power supply. This is the cool thing about it. You can edit and alter and mod it as you want to go. If you want a UPS system, you can add that. UPS is uninterrupted power supply. Essentially, you plug your fridge into this into the wall. When your power goes out, it will automatically switch over in like less than 10 milliseconds. So that's what UPS means. This is a double whammy. If you already have the Flex 1500, I highly recommend getting this because it is a rapid charger. It's faster than the fast charger. The fast charger's fast. This thing is 1200 watts per hour, so it charges a 1,000-watt battery in about 40 minutes, which is incredible. If you have 4 panels, it takes about 3.5 hours. So to be able to plug it in for 40 minutes and it's done, it's pretty amazing. Other than that, though, all of the solar generators, obviously, you can get power from the sun. You don't have to worry about getting gas in an SHTF scenario. And you don't have to worry about people from 2 blocks away hearing that you have power. In fact, people from 3 rooms across wouldn't hear it. People from 30 feet away would not hear it. They are silent. Even when their fan is on full blast, you would not be able to hear it outside of a room. And you can run it inside. There's so many positives to it. I'd highly recommend people, if they had both, that would be awesome, gas and solar. But if you were going to go solar, I think, in my mind, there's only really 1 or 2 options, and that's the Flex 1500 or the Flex Tactical. Again, the Flex Tactical is now the one that's actually going to be shipping out to the Army. This was designed to be the Air Force Research Laboratory and Energy together, and it won the SBIR Phase 2 contract. So if you do take value and this is something that they would ship out with the Army, then it's probably good enough for civilian use. Go to marfuglenews.com/energy. That's again, marfuglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and use the code Marfoogle to not only support us, but to get yourself one of the most badass solar generators on the market. All right, let's see here. Mark, you are live on Marfoogle News.
Hello, Marv. Hello, Dex.
What is going on? So you wanted to talk about the big picture scenario, and they want to drain our resources.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And I've got a scenario in mind, and that I came up with. It fits everything you spoke about today, and you can almost predict the future with it if you apply it. And this is just my idea. And if we back up and get a little higher and look down, we are currently, I believe, at war. We already know that with the two reasons, and I'm not going to talk about that. But the public doesn't see that we're at war, and I believe we're playing a game of chess. Most importantly, we know that we are not getting the truth. We are in a bubble, and they are feeding us what they want us to know. Because in wars past, everybody knew about it. But I think what currently we're in right now is an unconventional war, unlike we've never seen before, the kinds of things that are written about at the Combined Arms Staff College in Leavenworth. And I think we're in this kind of, if we take out the fear of nuclear war, because it only fogs our thinking, and take that out of the equation, and then things get a little clearer. We know that at any time, electronic warfare measures can be employed anywhere, all around the world. Planes can fall down out of the sky anywhere at any time out of the world. And I could go on, but I think we have powers that are flexing their muscles and to work on to try to get what they want. Currently, there's a war going on with a country in the bear. And so far, the world is content with sending as many lives to die as possible, draining resources. I think Poland figured it out. They already pulled out of this program. But the Georgia Guidestones had one commandment, number one, and I think we know what that was: to bring the world population down as far down as we can possibly do it. The things that we are hearing in the news is trying to do that exactly. The First Amendment, to bring down the world population. And they're using fear to do it. And a lot of the American people and world people are buying into the fear. Yes, it's true, but we can fight this back. And currently what they're doing, they're fighting each other. They're getting us to fight each other. With the news, you can see it all the time. They're dividing us, and they're getting us to fight against each other. That's how they win. If we could get our act together as people, there are much more of us together, particularly in prayer, we can overcome this. But I'm not looking positively in the future about this. I will say that it is my civic duty to vote, and I'm going to vote for, the candidate that I think is going to do the best for our country and make America great again. But he's not our savior. And but here on Earth, in this temporal realm where we live, I'll have to vote for that guy. And that's about it. That's about all I had to say.
So, and we can't really get into this, and now it's an offense that who knows what it will be in the future to even talk about it or even to question it. I just find it so insane that the numbers of people that are now converting their physical body to the other body at birth. Like, you were born this, now they're converting to this other thing. And how many people are now going towards, I'm a woman, I'm going to be with a woman. I'm a man, I'm going to be with a man. Or I'm a this, that. it seems to me like a whole lot less are gonna be having kids because they are now in a relationship where they cannot have kids. It's odd to me, but the messed up point is somebody would be offended by even thinking like, oh, yeah, that would reduce the amount of people there. You think from the very, very top, where does this actually come from? It comes from there's actual laws and things that were done. We were looking up in the president before T-Man, Barack, there were like 50 different things passed, all of these things that were passed to kind of push different things like that. Meanwhile, when T-Man was in office, there was not one thing. And you could say, oh, he's prejudiced, this and that. But it's crazy to me how many were passed. And just in the last year since that happened, they are now saying that 1 in 4 teens is that way. And then it's like it's almost like it's a style or something. And now you see it's glorified in social media that people are single, that they do not have children, that people just don't have children. And I'm sure there's many people here that don't have children and they're never gonna have kids. But that's never been popular. We've always gone back to the traditional moral of, man and woman have child. Now it's offensive if you even have a problem with that. What's crazy to me is that is a Christian belief. If you were to protect every religion in the world, then any solid, like, core fundamental belief of one of those religions would not be able to be basically affected on social media or any of these things, because it would be affecting any one of our given rights, right? You can't do prejudice based on somebody's religious beliefs. But yet, if you are, that's the one thing that they won't do. They can't protect the one Christian belief, but they protect everybody else's. I don't get that.
Well, I think any common man on both sides of the aisle understand the sheer wickedness to take a child and mutilate it. Clearly, it's not the child's decision; it's the parents' decisions. And if you look at it spiritually, that's what parents do to their children to give their children up to Baal, the evil one. And we lose a lot of children in this world that way. And you're absolutely correct. Birth control scenarios, mutilating our young children so they can't have kids is all part of depopulation.
Well, and people don't want to say it, or it's now turned into an offense. So now if you say it, you're immediately something else. The crazy part is like there's a lot of people that are totally fine with if somebody wants to live their life differently, that's fine. You're protected. Why isn't the belief that isn't something that they would personally want or that they don't believe in? Why is that not protected? I get what you're saying. By the way,
they want the power, they want wickedness, they want to have control of other people. They want what they have. They don't want the happiness that goes along with it. They're people that are, as I think Hillary put it, can I say deplorables? But there's a much worse name for that. But you have people on both sides of the fence. And there's only one thing that divides them both. And I don't want to get into a big scenario about it, but when you step back and you look at see what's going on in the world, one aspect of it is coming into play, and they are doing different plays and acts for the same scenario. The population, whether it's war, there's this, whether it's that, anything you report on is going to be related to that issue, I believe.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for your call. And again, don't be a stranger, okay? Mark, thank you from Florida.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you very much.
All right, you have a good day, Mark. God bless. My point is that you can be there. Just take a person that can be totally accepting of anybody else's choices, and also even stand up like, hey, your choices, your beliefs, nobody is gonna step on those. But then it's not equally out there. I mean, think about how it's treated in public, certain authors saying, this is this and this is that. They are now considered evil for believing something that 99% of people believed up until a few years ago. I mean, or it was just an accepted thing. And if it's not, and there's all of this new stuff, that's fine. But they automatically, now they have made it to where, oh, you're somebody who's afraid of this, or you hate this or that. That's not true. It's just that it's a personal belief. It's a personal belief that should be protected. I don't understand it. Like if a kid's in high school or something and they read the Quran, they are Muslim and they believe this. If they do something, if they have a certain religion that they have to do or a certain duty, if they have to pray, a teacher cannot stop them from doing that. It would be considered prejudice. It would be considered a horrible, horrible thing. At the same time, if somebody in school says, I don't believe in this and this and that, they could get suspended now. They'll get kicked out of school. They'll get picked on, whatever else. You get canceled for it. And I just think that's unthinkable. It doesn't ring the same country. I think everybody should be able to do what they want to do. Go do what you want to do, but don't force other people to approve of it. That's like saying, that's like, being a musician and having a law come in and force your parents to approve of your career choice. It doesn't work that way. You can't force people to approve of what you do. That seems to me like just insanity. But at the same time, I guess I grew up in Seattle where, gosh, I've had tons and tons of people I've known that are everything. Every part of that alphabet. But why put it into laws? Why put it into culture? Just let people be people and protect every religion, every thought, every whatever. But it's selective. And then major retail chains claim that TikTok videos with 9 billion views is causing shoplifting boom and issue dark warning to employees. A new generation of shoplifters have been learning sneaky tips from TikTok, creating a dangerous situation for employees. With the rise in retail theft happening all over the U.S. in the last few years, TikTok videos instructing people how to get away with shoplifting have surged in popularity. It says on the social media platform, the hashtag borrow, tip, and tricks had previously amassed 8.9 billion views. The harmful hashtag gave viewers a look at how people steal from stores without ever getting caught. It says for their audiences, TikTokers rate which stores would be the easiest to steal from, mainly naming Walmart or Dollar Tree. They would also give people tips on what to do when they get approached by employees. It says if a worker asked what you are doing, looking for, say something like, oh, I was looking for a random item, but they are sold out, a now deleted TikToker advised. Well, it doesn't surprise me that TikTok, that made by the company that is directly tied to the CCP, is doing stuff to where, because they don't have TikTok in China, to where all of these people are now shoplifting and doing these horrible things. Sounds like it would be sowing chaos in a country. And that's what many big cities are. You go into any Target, Walmart, whatever, you can see people in it at any given time. You can go in at any time of the day, and there will be a person filling up a shopping cart, running out the back door. Or straight up filling up bags. And they're brazen now. And that's all because of different politics and laxing laws and not even arresting them, just all sorts of weird stuff. And it makes you think, when you see all of these things added up together, it's like, what is the overall goal? Going back to that last caller, it might be somewhere close to that. I don't know. And then, oops, U.S. Space Force may have accidentally punched a hole in the upper atmosphere. Dex, it looks like you are now free, and we have Joe Schmo on deck. Did you want to pop in for a second? I thought I saw the light blink.
I'm good.
We're talking about the U.S. Space Force accidentally punching a hole in the upper atmosphere.
This is kind of, and maybe I just don't understand how it works, but I would think that every rocket that goes to space is punching a hole in the atmosphere, but apparently it doesn't. Apparently, what they're saying is that sometimes when these rockets go up, they actually open a hole in the ionosphere area, and that leaves, I guess, this ring. So as you see in the picture, you can sort of see the plume that's coming off this rocket, which we've seen this before, as the exhaust and the jet fuel, or not jet fuel, but rocket fuel, is misting out, and the sun is actually reflecting off of it, even though it's nighttime where you are, but around, up that high, the sun's hitting it, so you see the light reflecting off of it. But then what they said happens is a hole is left up in the sky that takes time, obviously, for the ionosphere to come back together. In other words, it leaves an opening, and that opening is a circle looking thing. And you can also, again, sort of see a light refraction off of that. And that's what they're calling it. So this is like the second time this year we have talked about this. I think one time was one of SpaceX's, and then this one is another company that was doing. Obviously, it's for Space Force, so it's not going to be known. Matter of fact, this one wasn't even announced. Nobody really knew it was happening. So that means it's pretty secret. I don't remember what they were launching. I'm sure it's reported what they were launching, but it's not detailed because it's Space Force. It's the Victus Nox satellite, which is Conquer the Night. I think the high level, what they've allowed us to know is that it's launching a satellite that's going to monitor all the other traffic up in the low Earth orbit, or all the other satellites that are up there. So that's the intent of that. But this is the second time we've heard this notion of punching a hole in the atmosphere. And I know a lot of other people, or a lot of people are going to have different opinions about what that really means. And that's fine. I'm not here to debate that. It's just this is what they're reporting. It's what people are seeing. And then the other interesting thing is the fact that this is yet another secretive Space Force launch, and it was done with a different company too. It was not SpaceX. It was I cannot remember the name of the company 'cause it's not that popular, but it's a smaller
Firefly.
company. Yeah,
Firefly
there it is.
Aerospace.
Firefly. Yeah, them. So yeah, so this is that's what it is. But kind of interesting visual. I think people could see this from like 1,000 miles away. That's how crazy it was, and of course, nobody knew it was happening when it happened.
Yeah, I've never heard of Firefly. I feel like we have covered one story or another. Like they I feel like they one story they used Cape Canaveral and they rented it, or because they were getting all of these launch pads back online a couple years ago, and it was around the time people were talking about Mars and right when Elon came out and said he was going to try to terraform Mars and get so many people. It was right when he was releasing his plan to get people to Mars. And then this is horrifying. NYPD to deploy robot cop to Times Square subway station. Shoot, do we have Dex? It didn't load the.
It's in screener. It's already there for you.
Okay, thank you. It doesn't have the pictures and stuff, so check this thing out. And there's actually video here. Let's see. I said it looks like a literal dystopian turd. Okay, hold on. Oh. Look at this thing. Look at them joking about this. This is just so not. They're chuckling because it's funny looking. It's a giant egg, and it has cameras absolutely everywhere. Look at this. Okay, so let me make sure that this is on here. Fair use. They're laughing. It's a big joke.
Good morning. I'm joined here today by Mayor Eric Adams, NYPD Chief of Transit Michael Kemper, members of the NYPD's Tactical Response Assistant Unit, including Commanding Officer Frank Giacomo, MTA President of New York City Transit Richard Davey, Assistant Commissioner of the NYPD Kaz Daughtry, and TJ Witham from the Times Square Alliance. There's a question we ask ourselves every day in public safety. How do we continue to keep people safe in our changing society where criminals are getting more sophisticated?
You put a giant egg turd in the subway station. That's what you do. You know what this thing really is? And again, they're going to be putting these. This New York is the test zone. These are coming to a city near you. They already have delivery robots and things like this. The difference is these, whether they say all of the features of this or not, these are going to have facial recognition, and this is a system that China has already set up. This is literally, we're heading in the same direction where people will be numbers. When it sees you, it will pull up 56782555542, and that's what you will be. And it will have your full profile, and they are working this in, where in the future, this is like Minority Report, only it's no longer fiction. It will have the percentage that it believes you are going to commit a crime. And it will choose who to follow based on this. It could be based on your body language or what you're doing or if you left a bag somewhere. Does this make you feel safer or does this horrify you? Let me know in the comments down below. Look at the stupid thing. My Twitter has another angle of it. You can see cameras everywhere. And for some reason, it's just not loading. Let's see here. I'll just refresh. Here we go. That's it right there. It literally looks like if they in the 1930s or 40s, like if they were making an alien movie, and in reality it was like a man sitting in a little box or in a little pod, and he was walking around like, I'm robot. Why does it have to be this big? I wonder if that's because it's because of theft, like it's so big and burly, or is this a setup for what's going to be in the future? Dex, go ahead.
And they said this thing's like 400 and something pounds. You saw in the video, the guy like put his hands on it like he was trying to push it over. It didn't move. Makes me think, yeah, it's big and bulky like that to keep people from hurting it, because I think everybody's going to want to kick that thing. And then the other thing is, I wonder when we're going to hear about this thing running over someone's foot and causing damage in a subway, especially in a crowded area. But yeah, this is they did say it's going to go with an escorted officer at first, so that we can all feel safe about it. But yeah, this is not cool. This is kind of very creepy, but also very dumb looking too.
So you're basically just adding facial recognition to so a regular cop's going to have facial recognition walking right next to him, essentially, at least in the beginning. Will they add weapons to this? We've already seen the robot dogs that they have attached 40 cals and 50 cals to. That's coming down the road. At the same time, the White House just made a department on trying to remove guns from Americans. Meanwhile, they're putting these on the street. Doesn't make too much sense, does it? All right. And then, what do you think about the robot? Do you think that this is cool? Do you think it looks stupid? Let me know in the comments down below. And
I think RoboCop is rolling in his grave.
Yeah, RoboCop would go, that looks stupid. I mean, Terminator, Arnold would be like, I won't be back. I'm just leaving. All right, and we're going to go to our third caller. We have Joe Schmo on the line. And Joe Schmo, let's see here. Joe Schmo is going to be talking about AI and people being oblivious and doomsday planes in the air. Joe Schmo, if you want to pop in. While we wait for Joe, again, make sure to go check out Harvest Right. This is the way you can actually freeze dry your own food, customize it in any way you want. You can freeze dry, if you have a garden, you can actually freeze dry all your fruits and veggies. This is the best way to preserve food because it keeps almost all of the flavor. It keeps in a ton of the nutrition, and it will last up to 25 plus years. It's an absolute huge positive. These machines are large, they are professional, and they're very easy to use. So they are not cheap, but once you get and invest in one, you can freeze dry your own food at a third of the cost. And I would say actually it's a third of the cost on average because it's like what an average meal, freeze dried meal is like $15 or something now. Freeze dried food has tripled in price over the last 5 years. This will basically cement, the cost of freeze drying food will basically be the low cost of electricity to run the machine and the cost of the food at whatever cost you got it at. So if you're thrifty, you will be able to do it for extremely cheap. Heck, I absolutely can see people going to the food bank and then freeze drying that food, keeping that for 25 years, even stuff that's almost at that expiration date. Freeze dry it, preserve it. You'll have it for 20, 25 years. That is the awesome thing about freeze drying. But again, it is an investment. And so that's why I would highly recommend getting in while they have $300 off on the pro models. Go over to marfooglenews.com/freeze. That's again, marfooglenews.com/freeze. You support our little channel here and you are getting a discount at the same time. It's a really great win-win for everybody. We have to be on our own. We don't have a multi-channel network to protect us. And again, we don't have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. So thank you. All right, Joe Schmo, you're live on Marfoogle News.
Oh, okay. Hey, hi all. First off, where do I start? I'd like to talk about the AI stuff first.
All right, go ahead.
I just see like this dark path, like the way it's going, like can't help but be reminded of like Skynet's and the Terminator movies. Like I don't know where to start.
Well, you can start anywhere.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Let me think for a second.
I know. Here, Joe Schmo. So I know exactly what's going on. I've called into like radio shows and stuff, and like right when you get in, it's like your brain freezes. Yeah. Don't worry about it. So think about what you were thinking about when you decided to call in. AI, it's horrifying. In my opinion, I don't think we should be going down the road, but we have no choice because China is doing it anyways.
Oh, speaking of China, I just remember what I was going to call. Like, in addition to that, honestly, I think that TikTok's like a psychological weapon. Like, the way I've seen people when they're on it, like they get like stuck in a trance. Like, and make no doubt, like I do know, like. Scary, like let me.
Did we lose you?
Get my thoughts together.
Well, so when you say thought like trance, you got to watch a video by Moon. It goes over they call the algorithm that runs the TikTok, because TikTok doesn't just do an algorithm that like, oh, you like these things. You will think something or say something, and say you're in a property dispute with your neighbor. You will see videos about property disputes that have actual relevance to you.
Yeah.
And it will keep you invigorated until, when you say they go into a trance, I know exactly what you're talking about. I have literally seen people on the bus and they are just they didn't pay attention. I've seen people miss their bus stop several times because they're just swiping. Swipe. And I know there's people here that are on it. They know exactly what we're talking about. The algorithm, they said it's one of the most advanced algorithm and one of the most accurate and effective algorithms in the planet. And it gives you a dopamine rush every time you get that new video.
they're all listening to you. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, like, I agree. Like, and like, it's just like the addictive loop, like, and Apple, like, yeah, let's just say, like, the Apple, like, of now is very different from the one, like, Steve Jobs was running, like, 2 decades ago. Like, I can assure you that, like, they're, and correct me if I'm wrong, like, aren't they in, like, big cahoots with China?
Yeah. Well, it depends. Are you talking about Apple? Apple's going to be doing this whole thing with their Vision Pro and this new AR VR thing.
Like,
but yeah, kind of. There's a bunch of news around China and Apple right now, but they're definitely not pro USA. They've been giving away information on their users and things like that recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah. My next thing is, like, I kind of want to talk about, like, what was I going to talk about? I feel like we're heading for another Fantastic Freddy. Like, I've been watching, like, putting all the signs together. I was like, air activity. Like, I honestly think that's where we're headed. Like, I just can't see any other way. Like, that's where we're heading.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get you. Now, what you wanted to talk about, people being oblivious. So it sounds like you had some. What did you talk about with Dex?
Like, it seems like everybody, like, shrugs off, like, no, you're crazy. No, you need to stop it. It's like, it's all a conspiracy theory. That's.
Are you cutting out, or I can't tell if you're cutting out. Is your phone cutting out?
I think it's my phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't on my end or something. It just keeps going blank.
Yeah.
Well, no worries. I get what you're saying. And here's the thing: people don't care. People don't care. People don't care that TikTok is literally all of this data. People don't care about their data. They don't care that this data is being used for a future thing that will be able to control them. They don't care that they are actually coming up with brain control. They don't care that this data is going to be used in AI that will then replace them and their job and their career and everything else. It's one of the scariest things of our times. That's why people like Elon said this way before anybody cared. Said, I'm more worried about AI than nukes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because once you look into what they're actually doing, and I bet you he knew about what they were doing years before the public knew.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he said it's scarier than nukes. Because it is.
It is. Yeah, I agree. I was going to talk about one more thing. Oh, yeah. I'm going to let you go.
All right, Josh, can you try to remember it? I know you're going to hang up and go, I forgot about it. Don't worry about it. Just relax.
No, it's fine.
Okay, Joe. Well, again, you can always call back again. You hear it all the time on the show. Do you watch the show a lot?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so do you hear the people that say, sorry about my first call, and their second call is awesome because then they have a much better frame of thought? It happens to a lot of people. Okay. Well, Joe Schmo, thank you so much for calling in, and call in next week. I'd love to hear from you.
Good night.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, that was Joe Schmo, and thank you, mods. Just remember, to anybody, just remember, I don't know if you've ever called into a radio show. I've done it. I've done the exact same thing. You have all these thoughts, and when you're listening to the radio show or something, you can just like rattle off like, oh, this. And then when you're talking to the radio show person, you're like, it's just like it's not it's so weird. It's like your brain just goes blank and you had all these cool things to say. It's kind of how I feel like when I do the cell phone videos. Go on, I have all these great points and then I end up like missing all of the points that I actually thought of in the first place and start going on other stuff. So thank you, Joe Schmo. And let's see here. We have strikes against automakers spread to 38 locations in 20 states. Stellantis and GM are targeted. Dex, can you cover this? I need to reset the audio before the end here.
So obviously the UAW strikes are going to be expanding, and they're saying they're now targeting multiple places. So this is mostly right now going after GM and Stellantis plants in 20 states. Apparently, Ford has been spared additional strikes because the company has met with some of the union's demands during the negotiations over the past week, according to the UAW president, Sean Fain. So, we've talked about this. We talked about it before it happened. We even had a caller call us and say, hey, this is coming and you're going to see it happen. And then we talked a little bit about before it happened. We reported a few things and now we're starting to get into this. I think the auto industry is in quite a bit of a pickle right now. Not just with the UAW. That's one. I mean, they want more. They want better pay. They've got whatever demands that they have that are in their interests. But if you look at the auto industry as a whole, it went through this horrific time with CV. It couldn't get parts in. It had shortages on vehicles. Prices went through the roof, which you would think would be good, but it really wasn't. That harmed the entire industry as well as parts of the economy. It made other industries like used cars become really cool, and now they've all sort of crashed back down. But now we're flooded with a whole bunch of new cars. And unfortunately, we got a lot of cars that are sitting on lots like EVs, maybe not Teslas, but some of those other ones from these other manufacturers that aren't looking as pretty. Especially with a lot of the hubbub that's coming out about not being able to charge them, or you can't go very far, or you buy a truck thinking you're going to tow something and you can tow it down the street, and that's about as far as you're going to get. So, lots of things are sort of all coming together, and it's not a real pretty picture in general for the auto industry, let alone the strike. The strike's a big deal. So I don't predict it to last forever. It's not like it's, these things typically happen. It's a form of negotiation. It puts pressure on the company to hopefully meet demands of the employees and vice versa. And they both push back until they come to some sort of compromise. Ultimately, nobody wants to not get paid, whether you're the company selling cars or the employee wants to have a job and actually get a paycheck. So they're going to come around at some point, you would think. But this is definitely one of those areas that I would pay attention to because it's such a big chunk of our economy, especially here in America. We do sell a lot of our own vehicles to ourselves, even though we import a lot. We do sell a lot outside of America, but it's not as big as it used to be, but it's still fairly big. I know a lot of it's manufactured out of the country, but yeah, big deals. We're paying attention to it. You guys probably should pay attention to it too. It's expanding, and that's the gist.
And there's a domino effect too. I mean, all of the industries that it affects. So if that industry goes down, then the sales go down. Then the people that work in that field, everything goes down. Then there's less spending. Then it has this kind of circle around effect on the economy because less people are spending money, and it's just a big old cluster. So hoping that goes well. If you are a Foogle fam and you work for the union and you are going to be a part of this, or you are a part of any other kind of strike that may happen, let us know. Again, we would love to hear from you. We actually heard from somebody a couple of weeks ago that was pretty sure that their factory was going to go on strike. And that was before a lot of the public was talking about it. Speaking of the public talking about something, I guarantee you this is going to be big on the news in the next couple of days. Of course, they had some big headlines today. The government's secret UFO dump. Border Security quietly releases tranche of 10 videos of mysterious craft whizzing around U.S. skies. I foresee this being like a big subject. One of the big UFO guys is probably going to, and I mean big, A&E type people, they're going to pull these videos out, and they're going to, when they need something in the next 2 weeks, I bet you, if there's some event that they don't want you paying attention to in the next couple weeks, all of the headlines will revolve around this. I've just seen the pattern so many times. Like the Tic Tac video, there were trials going on and things, and here, Tic Tac video, I bet you that the 10 videos, that at least a couple of them are going to be picked apart, and they go, oh, this is crazy, and they're going to make it major headlines. At the same time, you wonder, why is all of this happening? In general, we're living in a time right now where the government is actually questioning about aliens from another planet. They're talking about UFOs or a craft. And if you don't believe it and you still look at what they're doing, well, then go, okay, so is this China? Is this Russia? And if it is, if China or Russia is doing this crazy advanced thing, then we have things to worry about on the other hand. No matter what it is, you kind of go, well, okay, what kind of world are we living in right now? And then as ex-intelligence officer says that they are a threat. A tranche of the UFO videos, including never-before-seen footage, was quietly released by the federal law enforcement last month. U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the agency responsible for keeping terrorists and their weapons out of the country, uploaded 10 videos that appear to show craft moving in strange ways in our sky. I bet you some of them are like just drones dropping stuff over the border, but it says the videos were released on August 9th without warning, press release, or much in the way of context, only to be discovered by UFO enthusiasts and online sleuths earlier this week. The videos document a fighter jet pursued by an apparently baffling flying orb, as well as something that appears to be a propeller-powered hang glider and another apparent orb hovering near a parked 16-wheeler truck. So there's a bunch of new videos. Watch. They quietly release these, and then watch. Fox and CNN and all of them will be talking about one of these in the next couple weeks when there's probably a hunter trial or something else that they don't want you looking at. Or some comment by Brand or somebody else, and they will pop these up. That's what I think is going to happen. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And by the way, thank you everybody that popped into chat. Thank you for the super thanks. Carrie Ray, 4777. Peter Souza, thank you for the super thanks on Urgent Broadcast. Same playbook, different conflict. Thank you, Thomas Murphy, for the super thanks on Invoking Article 5 and Playing God. And of course, let's see here. Thank you, Susan, for subscribing. John Murdoch for subscribing. Chanel Bevaliqua, thank you so much for your support. And thank you. There's a couple new members there. Thank you, Jared. Thank you. And thank you, William Shelbrick. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support, and even appreciate it more. William Shelbrick says, as a combat veteran, thank you for your service, by the way. I'm very concerned with what's going on lately. You and me both, William. They want to, I think part of the narrative is secretly put out there that we are overreacting, that, oh, it's all a nothing burger. I think that's like CIA. This whole narrative that nothing is happening right now, that seems very Matrix to me. That seems crazy. If you think nothing is going on with all of these, and what's so crazy to think about it is if you truly believe there's all this stuff going on in the background, and you truly believe it, don't you feel like it's crazy that it's really happening? You know what I mean? Like, I believe, I know there's shady stuff going on behind closed doors. I see things and I'm like, how did they do this out in the open like this and people don't know? Like, how do people believe this stuff? To me, it blows my mind that we live in a world where essentially by the way that they do things and how obvious it is, they basically think we're all illiterate third graders that are like, oh yeah, that's what happened. Sadly, a bunch of us are. It shows you that there's so many people, and it doesn't matter if you're educated. You could be a master's degree and believe it. It's the gullible level of people. And the gullible level is so high, but even some of the most gullible people in the world will still not be tricked by BS. It's like people don't have a BS meter. People don't have, they don't have the sense to see it. All of the weird connections, when they say there's no coincidence, of course there's coincidences. But when you talk about the last few years, those aren't coincidences. This is like, it's blatant and in your face. Something huge is going on. Like the second caller said, we're at war. But people aren't going to wrap their head around that. They want you to keep going. They want you to keep working. They want you to keep paying taxes, and they don't want you, dropping out of everything. Do you guys agree? Let me know. Thank you in chat. So many great people here. Gosh, thank you. So many people that make every single show. Darth V, Stay Frosty. Hey, James Blatterman, Dale Val, Aaron Farhat. Has to do with lacking social experiences. Well, think about what the next generation is going to be like. Their social experiences is texting back and forth 3-letter abbreviations of everything. I just posted a video on Twitter of a teacher, a 7th grade teacher, saying that the kids are illiterate, that they ask how to spell simple words, that they can't read, and that even further on, and he's not trying to be insulting, he's like, they can't comprehend. We'll read something and 10 minutes later, they can't remember the main part. My response was that we have had social media and cell phones with kids, and humanity never stopped to really ask, like, what is this going to do to our children? Our children are tomorrow's adults and future. And it seems to me like the people that are going to be the older folks that are, 30s, 40s now, that are the elites, they're going to have total control, because they're going to have one of the most gullible and moldable audiences and moldable people on the planet by the time 10 years rolls around. All right, Dex, do you want to explain the videos here? We've got some interesting videos here.
Yeah, you guys can go download these videos. The link to, if you want to look at them yourself, we can't host them for various reasons, but there's the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon link on our webpage. So if you click on the show notes link, it'll take you there. You can get to each of these. Each of these are a little different. They're as we described earlier, they've got some different takes to them. I tend to look at, there's really not a lot of explanation. They just put them out there. Matter of fact, the web page that has it just says UAP, and it's spelled out, unidentified area.
All right, so we're gonna see if that continues. This is part 2, so we'll just get right back into it. Luckily, that happened very, very close to the end of the show. So I'm gonna have to pull a couple things up here just to make sure, and I'll have to pull up. See here. Pull this up again. Should work. Okay. Let's see. Restream. And there we go. Okay. Let me know in the chat. Okay, sweet. Thank you. See, it doesn't always work like that. So if you're watching the replay, you probably didn't notice, but we temporarily lost power and got it back going. So thank you guys. Sometimes it happens weird timing. I don't think there was anything weird about this. It was just, like we're showing the UFO videos and the power goes out. But yeah, these aren't that great of UFO videos. So I don't think I don't think the surveillance van turned us off or anything. But I will say this. Let's get back into it. Dex, this was actually the very end. If you guys want to watch some of these UFO videos, you can go ahead. They are kind of, they were put out by the government, so we could technically, we could go through them and stuff, but I think that it would be much better quality if you guys went and, because a lot of them are grainy. You guys can go check them out for yourself. It's quite fun to go through and zoom in and check them all out yourself. Dex, do we still have?
I think you were right when in your first analysis when you said some of them look like drones. Like when you watch these, some of them, I mean, they're all small, right? The interesting ones I think are the ones that are chasing another plane. And there's something else bigger moving faster it's maintaining the speed. That's a lot more interesting to me than just a little tiny dot that you don't know what it is, but it's moving and they're tracking it in the camera. So I think some of that's just the typical drones we see at the border where they're bringing stuff across or dropping things across. So but there are some interesting ones in here. Again, there's no information, and this is from our government, so they're putting it out. I think they're just dumping it, like we said. And they're not trying to tell us much about it, but it's there. So if you guys want to go look at it, the download link, it's on the site. You can go download each one directly from the DHS site that supports the Border Patrol. So they're all there. But yeah, they're mildly interesting. But again, there's nothing like really clear and close. I mean, the thing we showed with in Bermuda on Google Earth looked a little bit more clear than some of these pictures.
Oh yeah, like a caller called in with something better than this. But watch, that doesn't mean that they're not going to pull these out and distract you from whatever they need you to this week. Watch, more audio will come out on the F-35 that basically confirms that something stupid happened, and watch, they'll go, oh, UFO. It seems to me, and I personally believe there's stuff up there. I've seen stuff that absolutely could not be explained, and this was 20 years ago that I saw stuff that absolutely could not be explained, did a triangle and just disappeared. I mean, you could see it go, phew, and it's faster than any plane you could imagine. So I've seen weird things around the blood moon like 4 or 5 years ago. I saw red dots way up. This is actually might have been 6 or 7 years ago. No, I think I had a show. So it was probably in the last 5 years. And these red dots were flying, and it had a spotlight on it, and it was not a helicopter. And I know what people are going to say. It's like, oh, it's probably a helicopter with their safety lights, and they were turning on their light. This thing was up in space. It was wild. And it was right when we had that blood red moon, but like it was a serious one, and people traveled to see it and stuff. Things like that, you just can't explain. But at the same time, when the government and the Congress and the BS UFO stuff, it seems like, oh, Hunter will have a trial and they'll come out with aliens, are aliens real? And they'll talk to Congress. Like that one thing that they did where the guy comes out and basically says the exact same thing that he said in this interview, but he said it to Congress. So people were like, oh, and the Congress are like, oh, really? It just seemed like it was a daytime drama. I just thought it was so fake. All these people are actors. And just every one of them, of the right or to the left. That's why I don't like the right or left paradigm. I think they're all politicians that if the right amount is put in their pocket, they're going to give a literal crap about you. They don't care about us. They don't represent us. These people spend $12,000 on dresses and $10,000 on shoes. Well, we can't, spend $100 at the grocery store anymore. So we gotta stick to our own. Everybody's fighting and arguing with each other in this niche and every other niche. Everybody's competition in this and that. Why are we fighting with each other? Why are we talking trash to each other when there's people right above us that are just spitting on us and stepping on us like we're pieces of crap? That's what I don't get. And I so much appreciate everybody that is patient with our show. It is a live show. Anything can happen. You guys have been here a long time. You've been here for the funny stuff, like my old, I had one of those fake board things, and it was my whole backdrop, and the whole thing fell on me during a live show. Those are the fun times. I think it adds something. When I watch a live show and I see something that comes out of left field, It actually makes my day. Like that guy I just told you about last week, the guy that got the $500, but it was South African Zanar or something, or whatever the South African what Renar or something in it. But it was a $500, and it literally looks like a $500 super chat. And I watched this super chatter or the creator just go nuts, like $500. Most times you get $5 or $10 or something, and it was South African dinar or something. So it ended up being a really nice super chat of like $20, but he thought it was $500. He just starts jumping up and down, going nuts, and I'm sure that's happened many times. But it was like, it's moments like those that like I remember watching that creator, and I watch him still. So, it's like that's why I love doing this stuff live. It is fun. You never know what you're going to get. You never know what the callers are going to be like. And I will say there was a comment earlier about one of the callers, and the caller was kind of freezing up. Somebody said it almost seemed like he was reading the chat at the same time. I believe that. You know why? Is if you read if there's very few, just a couple out of a couple thousand that says negative comments about the callers, that's going to stick with a person. And then they think, oh, I'm not going to say that because somebody said it was stupid. That's why I say, please do not say anything negative. Say next on the callers. Don't say, this and that. We don't know people's backgrounds. We don't know what they've gone through. I'll give this example because there's a lot of new people here. There was somebody who called in, and they sounded like or people said that they sounded drunk. They kept saying drunk in the chat. That person got off the phone, watched the replay, was able to read all of the nasty negative comments, called back in, sounded exactly the same, said it was really, really nasty for me to call in today, because last time I reread the chat and everybody was saying I was drunk or sounded stupid, and it turned out that they had a stroke. So it's like things like that. You don't know what somebody's gone through right next to you. You don't know what their deal is. So always be polite. They will be back in chat with you after that, and respect people. Also, it could mess up their call in the first place. So just say happy, nice things. Just be real with people. You might, if you're so much better at doing calls, then call in yourself. All right, and thank you. I saw Bad Apple was here a minute ago. Kathy Piana. It looks like we've switched over. Thank you so much. Truth Iris, Emily Romeo. Let's see here. Loredano. Lots of new names, too. Thank you, everybody that's new. It's funny. A lot of new people, but they take as many people as they give us. Dex, go ahead.
I just saying we're switching in about 2 minutes.
Oh, so we're still on. We're still on TV. Okay.
Yeah. There's just a moment.
Well, let me make sure that there was nothing super important here. No, we're good. We got to everything. So thank you guys. God bless all of you. And thank you for joining us tonight. And I hope you guys join us over the weekend over on news, and join us on Monday for our show on here. And it's time for the shoutro. After we just cover a couple of these things, we're going to cover the web only. There's lots of interesting stuff over here as well. Dex, if you want to go over that real quick.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this show moved over. So yes, there's a lot of great things happening over on the website. So go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, open up that show notes link down below in the description. If you hit the page and then scroll down, you can find the orange bar. That's the overflow. That's where everything else is happening. And all the other stories that we've got. And then below that is just as important, is where all the caller information goes. So when we have great things from the callers, all of that, at least the notes of who called and what they were talking about. So if you want to reference it, and if they supply anything, don't forget you can download those videos if you're looking for them, the YouTube videos, and then the UFO videos, they're there as well. So, and then as far as the rest of the content, we do have typically what's going on with what's happening in the political space, what's happening in Russia and UKR, and some extra tidbits and nuggets that are going on around the space at any given time. So it's all there for you, marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link down below in the description.
Okay, Parker Fraser, nice to see you. No worries about being late. We started early today. We will try to go on at 6 on Fridays, and we will do calls. So make sure to join us for Fridays. And yeah, lots of cool stuff coming. We're again trying to work on a new cool